Hey guys, here we are again with 100 ways to murder a Firebird. Anyways, uh, plucking away on this thing, I suppose, since I shot the video last, I suppose we're probably about 2.5 hours later. But I've really only been working on the thing for about an hour and a half with some downtime and that. So you can see once you know what you're cutting away, you can make quite a bit of progress in a real short time. I use these high quality Sawzall blades and they hack through this stuff in just a few seconds. You just have to be careful you don't get into something you intended to keep, because the one thing about good quality blades is they cut really fast, and especially on this light sheet metal, it's almost like going through balsa wood. The saw will pull itself along, and if you're not careful, you can end up into something that you intended to keep, and in just a few seconds you can do a mass amount of damage. But anyways, I know I'm keeping most of the firewall intact on this because I'm going to use the factory heater box and the factory windshield wipers, and I may even put the brake booster and steering column back where they were. So I left that section of firewall intact until a later date when I make that decision. And I left some of this outside structure in place because I may use part of that at least for the cowling that I will need in order to get into the nose of this. But we got rid of the floor because, like I said in the earlier video, I plan to drop the floor about 4 inches and make this more of an upright position. Like a pickup truck, if you want to say. Now, a lot of you are probably wondering why the hell I'm doing that to a streamlined car. And the thing is, if you go back and look at the Art Deco era, you got to remember a lot of those cars were built on truck chassis. So while they look small and streamlined in the pictures, they're actually huge. If you've ever had a chance to look at a Duesenberg or an Auburn, they're about the size of a 3/4 ton truck. They're massive. So in order to get that scale correct on this, I need to heighten the vehicle a little bit. I am keeping the aerodynamics, but I am changing the interior to more of a luxury style interior and making the vehicle a little bit taller and a lot longer. So that's part of the fun of doing something like this is, in theory, by the time I'm done, you probably won't be able to tell it's a Firebird unless you knew it was a Firebird to begin with. And that's the point behind it, is what creative things can we do with a modern vehicle to have some fun with them. So anyways, hacking away on Lola here, and making some progress, and then we'll start building the frame again. I haven't quite decided how I'm bringing the frame across in the back. So while I'm still trying to decide that, I'm leaving the back intact. And that also gives me some strength. Now, it's important when you start cutting structure out of these to know where your structure and your strength is, or else things can move on you. So these rocker panels are actually the frame of this car. And they go up through the door jamb here, through the B-pillar. And then this has a very heavy cross member in the dash. So I'm counting on that cross member and the roof to keep this square for me. And so I did not weld in cross structure on here because I know that those will hold it and they're in good shape. And I checked the condition of those before I started cutting this. Otherwise, if it didn't have that heavy beam in there, as soon as I cut these two main beams out of the floor, the car could have come out of square, and that could be a complete bear for me to get it back into square. So it's important to know what your structure is, and if you're not sure what your structure is, then leave all of your cross members in place and just get rid of the lightweight sheet metal. So in this case, I would have left that main seat member in place and just gotten rid of the floor from behind it back to this section, and just get rid of your lightweight sheet metal first and leave the structural components in. You can kind of see this section here where that little mound is, or on this side here. That was the transmission brace where the transmission mounted to it. So that would have been a good structure to leave in place if I wasn't sure. So anyways, like I say, this was mainly done with the Sawzall and a little bit of 040 work. In this particular case, I used the cutoff wheel to cut slots or holes into the firewall, and then that allowed me to get the blade in without having to use the tip of the blade to try and punch through. So I just used the 040 to cut a couple of slots along the way and into the corners and such, and then I used the blade to cut the rest of it. So that's pretty well it. We're continuing on, and like I say, 101 ways to murder a Firebird. Here we go. Thanks for watching.